Good morning. Good morning. Oh, real. All right. How are you this morning? Good morning as we're going live in all the places. I would love to know where you're coming in from. All right. Now let me pull this up on my phone. Perfect. All right. So we are ready, and I'm looking at my hair looks a little wild this morning. So it is so good to be here with you this morning, and it is going to be a beautiful day today, which um, we're getting some warmer temperatures. So today is going to get a little bit warmer. Yesterday it got up to 70. So the rest of the week I think is going to be gorgeous. We've got trees blooming, we've got flowers coming up, and so it's that time of rebirth that I love. And it got me to thinking of about a lot of things, but I'm going to share really quick how the idea for today's affirmation and journal prompt came up. And just bear with me. I shared this with a podcast guest yesterday because it seemed to fit in exactly with what she and I were talking about, which I'll be releasing that pretty soon. And it's Mikkel, and really cool. She's already scheduled to come into the group next month and share her amazing expertise. So I'm super excited, and I'll be creating the event within the next couple of days to get you abreast of what else going on. So it's getting really fun and delicious around here. But let me go ahead and tell you where this came from. Sorry. Do you ever save jars, like jelly jars, different jars that you buy an item and you save it, right? We love, my daughter and I, sorry, my daughter and I love to save jars, and especially if they're kind of unique and a different shape, they're the right size, and especially if it's a mason jar, because you have to go out and if you like canning and doing things like that, then you want some mason jars. And why go out and buy them if you've got them in something that you've purchased, right? So we do that all the time. And so I noticed the other day when I was looking in the cabinet, because we stick them up in the cabinet, and there were a few of them that still had labels on them, right? And excuse me. So the interesting thing to me was, as I was looking at them, and I had some that I'd gotten all the labels off of, and there was no sticky residue and anything, and some of these just kind of skated by me. Excuse me one second. I have no idea what's going on with my. I will say I got a notification this morning that the pollen count's getting pretty high already. So there you go. But anyway, so I'll get some of these jars down that still have some label on them, and some of them had almost the entire label on them, and some of them had little bits and pieces. Some of them had a little bit more, and so I put them in a container with water and got that. Good morning, Carrie. I hope you're feeling so much better. But I was putting these jars in this water so that I could soak the label off, right? Just so that it gets the sticky residue and everything. So as I get them out of there, and I've got a pot holder and I'm holding them so they're not burning my hand, and I've got this scraper thing and I'm scraping the label, and I'm scraping. And it's like some of them, it was so easy to get the label off. And some of them, the label was really intact. And so I really had to work. And then afterwards, I had to get a steel wool pad and scrub the residue off, right? So it was a lot of work. And some of them, it felt like I could never get that label off. And I got to thinking about it. That's kind of how we are in our lives, right? We've got labels that we've put upon ourselves or other people have put on us during our life. You know, we've talked about a lot of this before. So, for instance, if you were doing something when you were a little kid and you were silly, oh, that's the silly one. And if you were a reader, oh, she's going to be a writer, she's going to be, and people start giving you labels when you're very, very young from something very trivial, right? Maybe you've got several siblings and everybody else seems to be athletic and you're not. And you're really young, you haven't even really tried, but they'll say, well, they're the athletic ones, this one's not. And then you get in school and you raise your hand in math class and you get the answer wrong, and suddenly you give yourself a label that I'm not good at math. So we give ourselves labels, other people give us labels, and those labels get more sticky on our jar, so to speak, right? They get more pressed in, they get more brighter, they get where they rule our lives, all these labels that we've had, right? And so it's really, really important for us to understand what are the labels that are true and what are the labels that are not true. Tricky, right? Tricky. So let me go ahead and grab today's affirmation. So see, some of these things comes from the silliest things. It was just cleaning my jars, all right? And I will share, I get this jelly from Costco that has this really cool jar, and there's some little ones and some big ones, and I love those for my starter, for my sourdough bread, and there's just certain things I just love for those. We keep so many things in jars, right? Especially mason jars. All right, so our affirmation for today is, I am not defined by my past labels or limitations. I am limitless. I break free from anything that has held me back and step fully into my true power. So now, how does that happen? First thing we have to do is we have to recognize the labels that we have, right? We have to recognize whether it's a true label. One of your labels may be, I am friggin' brilliant. Beautiful, right? So what is a new label that you might have come up with for yourself? So we give ourselves labels all through our life, but they get created from the labels we had when we remember, we've talked about this before too, that the labels that you have, the things that are who you are created between birth and 7. Between birth and 7. And then we just utilize those labels, those thoughts, those feelings, those actions, all those things that happened, and we create who we are now from when we were born to we were 7. No matter how old you are, you're still looking at the world through one or more of those labels. So it's time to break free, right? So remember, the thing I love is when I can make any of these an I am statement, because when we say I am, we are claiming it. That is who we are. It's not like saying I am Vicky and I go past labels. It is like I am not defined. That is who I am. I am not defined by my past labels or limitations. And then I am limitless. I'm not just Vicky. I am limitless. So as I always say, really pay attention to the words that come after I am in your daily conversations with yourself or with others, because it rules your world, whether you realize it or not. So if things are not exactly the way you want, take a peek under the hood and see what your I am statements are. And as long as I've been doing this, I still catch myself saying some really obscure I am statements. It's like, why did I say that? Let me back up. And, and I've shared this before too. People will get you into their conversation about their I am statements and ask you to agree with them, where, it's where they are being wronged by the world and all these things, right? And they want you to agree. And sometimes it is so hard to step back and say, that's not my experience. We tend to want to get along. So we'll agree with something they say, but when we do, it's birthing something in us. And so when you catch yourself doing that, you take a step back. And if you don't tell them, you at least tell yourself, that is not true for me. And a lot of times I will tell them, I'm sorry you've had that experience, but I haven't experienced that at all. So choose wisely. Who are you? What are these past labels and limitations? Do you feel limitless? So like I've said before, if any of these feel like it's so far out in left field that you just, that is not me, then instead of saying, I am lateless, you say, I'm beginning to recognize my limitlessness. I am stepping into a limitless life. So you can soften it just a little bit so that your subconscious mind doesn't call bullshit. Because then you're just speaking and you're not doing anything. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing this in a way that resonates with you, feels like it's a possibility, and then go, right? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and share today's journal prompt because I have, there we go. All right, so our journal prompt today is going to be a fun one to dive into, right? What labels given by yourself or others have you carried that no longer serve you? What labels given by yourself or others have you carried that no longer serve you? And that's going to take a little inner reflection, because a lot of times we don't even recognize that it is a label. So if you've struggled with relationships, if you've struggled with your spirituality, if you've struggled with your money, if you've struggled with your health, if you've struggled with any of those, you've got some labels in there that need some looking at. Because that's where all that comes from, is the labels that we have in us that we've adopted as true, even though they may be not true, or maybe they were true years ago, but they're no longer true. Maybe you got a label, you were a klutz when you were a kid, and it's just because they had shoes on you that were too big and you stumbled around, right? But then if it happens enough, you start saying, well, I'm such a klutz. I'm such a klutz. And the more you say that, the more of a klutz you become. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. But then you can look now and say, that is not true. I can walk. I can talk and walk and chew gum. I can do all that stuff. And I am in control of my ability to move through life. So where are you at in this? Do you see some labels that maybe you've been carrying around that maybe you didn't even realize it was a label? And I've shared before, but one of the labels that I had for a very long time, because I had someone that always pointed out to me, that label was that I didn't finish anything. And I had people that would point out, I started this program, I didn't finish. That still happens, but that doesn't mean I don't finish things. It just means that that's not important to me right now. There's a difference, right? My first husband was notorious for telling me how much of a loser I was because I didn't finish things. He pointed it out all the time. When I was just about to start college, my grandmother on my father's side, and I say that because I don't really ever felt like she was a grandmother. I called her by her first name. We were not close by any means. But the thing is we went to visit her before I went to college, and my dad told her that I was about to start college. Now, this is where that label began because I never heard it before this. And she said, I don't know why, you'll never finish. There was no, when I look back at it, there was nothing that would be supporting that statement. Nothing about my life supported that statement. Nothing. But when she said that, I thought, is that true? So what did I do? Did I finish college? No. Mm-mm. It's because I adopted the thing that she said and thought it was me. So as soon as things got a little uncomfortable, I thought, do I still want to be here? Then I got married and quit. So that was a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? That husband, he was the one that continuously told me I didn't finish anything. And I owned it for a long time until I had this amazing guest on my podcast. And she's actually the one I was talking about a moment ago. This has not been her first time on my podcast. The first time on my podcast, she was on talking about, she did human design. And so as we were talking, she actually did my human design reading. And one of the things that she said to me was that because I'm a manifester, I think that's it, because I'm a manifester, she said, you probably find yourself going from one thing to the other. And she said, I just want you to know that it's not because you're a quitter. It's because you recognize really quickly whether it's something that resonates with you in that moment. And if it doesn't, you move to something that does instead of staying with something that doesn't resonate. And it was like the freedom of that statement was like, holy shit, I'm not a quitter. I'm a manifester. This is perfect. So you may have a label on you right now that you didn't even realize wasn't true. So what labels, given by yourself or others, have you carried that no longer serves you? That label did not serve me at all. So now it's different. I have the ability to see very quickly what resonates with me in the moment. What is the most benefit for me right now? I've got some courses that are lined up that I've paid for, that I've dived into, but then right now they're sitting off to the side because that's not my priority. And that's okay, right? So how can you rewrite your story today in a way that reflects your true strengths, potential, and purpose? I just shared one of mine, right? So I would love to know, what are you going to rewrite in your story? What are one of those labels that you've had that you can rewrite what it means? You can rewrite whether it's a true statement or not, because you can. It's all within your power. So I'm going to go back to the affirmation. Our affirmation, I am not defined by my past labels or limitation. I am limitless. I break free from anything that has held me back and step fully into my true power, because you can. Put this on your index card, the screensaver on your phone, your sticky notes. Put it somewhere that today you are reminded that you are limitless. Make sure that you have that I am statement sitting somewhere for you today so that you can grasp that power and hold on to it, because you are not defined by your past labels or limitations. You are limitless. Own it. Be it. How does it feel to be limitless? What would you do differently today if you knew you were limitless? Give it some thought, right? I break free from anything that has held me back and step fully into my true power. I step fully into my true power. Delicious, right? All right. Now our journal prompt. And as I say every day, I recommend that you get out your notebook, your journal, and then you put the date, the affirmation, and the journal prompt. And then you read it out. Give it some emotion. And then you set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes to be in silence. And in that silence, your subconscious mind is thinking about all of this. You don't have to do a thing. Just focus on your breath. And as you notice your mind starting to chatter a little bit, just come back to your breath. Just keep doing that however long you have to, or how many times you have to. It doesn't matter. You're wanting to get tapped into who you really are, your inner guidance, your God voice, because it's always talking to you, always. Most of the time, we've got so much noise going on within us that we don't hear a word. So let it speak to you and actually listen. What labels given by yourself or others have you carried that no longer serve you? And just when that timer goes off, you write out everything that shows up. And you're going to be surprised as you've done this silence and you've tapped into this inner guidance. There's going to be things that pop up that you're going to think, well, that's not true. I don't remember ever thinking that. I don't. Don't critique, just write. It's just for you. Nobody else has to see it. But please, 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 whatever shows up, make sure that you put it down on the paper, because you're getting it out and bringing it to the surface so that you can let it go. Don't hold on to any of those things just because it doesn't seem good or it doesn't seem pertinent to the question. Maybe there's so many things that will go on within us that will have us judge and critique the things that come out. Just let it flow. And once you've done that, then you can say, how can I rewrite my story today in a way that reflects my true strengths, my true potential, and my true purpose? You've got this. Break free. Break those chains that are holding you back. Rewrite your story and step into who you were always meant to be. You have the power. This is where it starts. Break free. Rewrite the story of who you are. Oh, there's so much power within that. And one of the things that I have some of my clients do is if there's a particular time, like when I was telling you about the story with my grandmother, my dad's mom, one of the things that is so beneficial is to go back to that thing in my mind and imagine it being different. So I like to imagine that instead of her saying with this snarl on her face, I don't know why you're not going to finish, I imagine that she says, oh, wow, congratulations. How would that change things, right? So that's one of the techniques that you can do is when you see that there was something that happened that labeled you, just for kicks and giggles, just pretend, imagine that it went differently. And then just continue to imagine that it went differently. And see how things change as far as that limiting belief that you've been holding on to for all this time. So break free, rewrite your story. You have the power to do that. And step into who you were always meant to be. Now, I have to pop off here, but I want to tell you that I am so in love with this group, and I am so in awe of all the amazing people that are in here. And I wanted to make sure that I shared a couple of things with you as we're finishing up here, that Thursday, the 27th, so this Thursday at 5 p.m. is our mindset bingo game. And there's it's in the events section of the group. So make sure you check that out because it's going to be fun. The last one we did was so fun. You get your own personal bingo card. We play bingo and we have discussions about some of the limiting beliefs that are on there. And then as a prize, you get a possibilities card to take home with you. And it is amazing. So we're talking about the limiting beliefs that you have, the limiting mindset, and then we tap into the final thing you get is an awesome new belief card. So it's really fun. So definitely sign up so that you get the reminders. And I'm so excited to be doing that with you guys. And then Friday, so the very next day on the 28th, did I say the bingo is at 5 p.m. Eastern? I don't remember if I did or not. So Friday, the stand up and stand out party is happening. And that's where we're going to really dive into what's holding you back as far as speaking out about whatever it is that you are holding back on. And, it could be talking about your elevator pitch, the thing that you say to people about what you do. We can talk about that. Sometimes we've even, I will say one person, one time, she was talking about the fact that she wanted to start a podcast, but she was holding back. She was going to wait till months later. And so one of the things that we did in this stand up and stand out party was we helped her name it and we helped her claim that she was a podcaster. And just a few days later, she was so excited and grateful that we had helped her move past that, just keep putting it off stage. And so it's amazing. There's so many things that we do in there as a group, and it's going to be off the charts. I know it's been a little bit since we've done the stand up and stand out party, and I knew it was needed. So we are doing that. And that is Friday, the 28th at 5:30, right? 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So definitely join in. We've got some really cool things to invite you to. And I would love, love, love to have as many of you there as possible because it's going to be fun, both the bingo and the stand up and stand out party. So whatever you want to come to, if you want to come to both, beautiful, but go into the events section and go ahead and sign up so that you get the reminders and we will see you there. All right. So I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. And in the meantime, spend some time rewriting your story. You've got this. Mwah. Love you guys.